This is Fedora 25 workstation with GNOME 3.22. I've had this in my system since last November when it was first released. It's now mid-January, but I haven't been able to make a screen recording in the GNOME version until recently. One reason is that Wayland is now the default display manager for this implementation of GNOME 3.22, but there is an option for using the traditional Xorg display manager. You can select that when you log in. So I'm currently recording in Xorg. Even with that provision, Record My Desktop, which used to be the only major screencasting software available in Fedora, simply did not work with the GNOME desktop. It worked with XFCE and other desktops, but not with GNOME. That may be a function of my computer's limited resources, too. I can't necessarily place the blame. And it was very difficult to get my favorite screencasting software, SimpleScreenRecorder, for Fedora. You had to compile it from source code. But recently, SimpleScreenRecorder became available for Fedora in the RPM Fusion repositories, so I was able to install SimpleScreenRecorder, and it works fine in the Xorg implementation of GNOME 3.22. Unfortunately, that makes it impossible for me to display the advantages of Wayland, and there are some, although it's hard to tell the difference. It appears to me that Wayland is very light and very fast, and that was its purpose. So I won't be able to display that, even though I liked using it when I was able to use it. Even this version, the Xorg version, seems faster than previous versions of GNOME. Maybe it's just my imagination, but you can judge for yourself. Before I get on with the general review, I'd like to discuss a problem I had with SimpleScreenRecorder itself. I'm bringing it up, and as you can see, it's too big for the display. I can barely use the buttons on the bottom. Now, the reason I can use them at all is that I have the top panel on auto hide. Otherwise, you can't see the buttons at the bottom at all. So with auto hide, you can barely see them. However, auto hide does not work by default in GNOME 3.22. You have to use the tweak tool, and that does not come by default with the Fedora version of GNOME. However, I got it and was able to install an extension that allows the top panel to auto hide, and this is in telehide, they say. All right, so I had to overcome that hurdle before I could even use SimpleScreenRecorder, and I don't know where to place the blame here either, because one would be tempted to blame SimpleScreenRecorder. It should fit on the display. However, I've used GNOME 3 ever since it was first introduced, off and on, and I've occasionally had the same problem with other software, including GIMP, which is the quintessential GTK application. At one time, I couldn't use all the buttons on GIMP, so it seems to be a problem with GNOME. Now I'm going to minimize this again and get on with business. I haven't done much to the system. I've installed the SimpleScreenRecorder, as you can see here, and as I say, I have the tweak tool, but I had to download it. I've also installed the RPM Fusion repositories. In my view, Fedora is useless without the RPM Fusion repositories. So why do I like it with all those problems? Well, the reason I like it is it has very up-to-date software. In some cases, it's even more up-to-date than the Arch-based distributions. And secondly, it's supported by Red Hat, which is worth a couple of $1 billion, so it's not likely to go away soon. It doesn't come with many installed applications. Oh, I had to install Yum Extender too. I find that far more useful than GNOME software. GNOME software is nice, but it doesn't have everything in it. It leaves a lot of things out. Aside from installing the extension that allowed me to auto-hide the top panel, I haven't really tweaked this version any further, and I'm not going to do a lot. I'd like to try the GNOME experience as it was intended. However, there are a few compromises I will not make. And one is that whatever idiot in the GNOME project decided to omit the title bar buttons, somebody at least had the good sense to allow us to put them back in. They should be included by default. As you can see, normally there's no maximize and minimize buttons, and with these on you have the maximize and minimize buttons. I like the global dark theme, so I'm going to try that also. And restart the application. Now also under Appearance, I'm going to turn off animations. I feel that will give my screen recorder a few more resources to work with. Now under Power, when the power button is pressed, again I have this very limited range of options: suspend, do nothing, or hibernate. Most other desktops also give me the option of being asked what I want to do when I press the power button. I encountered the same problem with Budgie. I can see that the problem originated with GNOME. On the top bar, I'm going to show the date. You can't really see that now, but now you see it. Now I'm going to give GNOME software a little run for its money. See what I can find in here. To search, you have to click on the magnifying glass. Let me see if I can install GIMP. Install. That went pretty quickly. And as you can see, it opens fairly quickly too now. I always put it in single window mode, and it stays that way. I'm going to add this to the favorites too, so I don't have to keep looking for it. You notice how things disappear under the top bar now. The IntelliHide doesn't always work. It isn't that intelligent. Now I'm going to take a look at the Yum extender. And this is the DNF version, of course. And to make updates, I should mention a lot of updates. Just yesterday I reinstalled this. It's a couple of months old, of course, so I knew there would be a lot of updates. And there were about 657 megabytes worth of updates, and today I have more. But at least with Linux, you're not forced to do the updates against your will as you are with Windows. Let me just see what's involved here. I'll check all of them, and I'll hit the little gears. Okay. All right, so the update is out of the way. Let me look for something else. Use score. I misspelled it. Not finding it. Let me try it under another name. Ah, there it is under the other name, mscore. I'm not going to install the documentation. I am going to install the fonts. So I click on the little gears and then click on OK. 172 megabytes. So that's installed. Here it's found under MuseScore. And it opens rather quickly. I just closed MuseScore, but it says it crashed. Oops, we're sorry. If you'd like to know, I wouldn't like to. Now, the basic functionality of Fedora 3.22 has remained the same. Click on Activities, you get this Favorites launcher here. You go to the bottom to this little matrix, it'll take you to an array of all applications. In this case, there's just 2 pages. There can be a lot more. And utilities and some other things are grouped together. So you can ungroup utilities and you see them in this little grayed out area. Now if I had any open applications, and I'm going to open a few things. When I say this, I should say rather, if I had any open applications that weren't hidden. There's gedit. I can't get to activities because the IntelliHide bar won't unhide. I can't move this. It's another one of the many annoyances. Now, with the unhidden applications, you see the workspaces appearing over here, and there's always one extra one. So if I go to the second workspace, now I install something else. Oh, let me install the terminal there. If I want to change workspaces, I just click on the one I want. Now this takes me to the workspace overview, and as you can see, this shows the hidden applications as well as the unhidden ones, whereas this workspace thumbnail here just shows the unhidden ones. Anyway, let me minimize this and get on with business. Of course, you have the Windows snaps. Now, just going back over the top bar a bit, When you click on the date and time, you get the calendar, and you also get a notification area, and it's got no notifications in it so far. Then all of these things are grouped. You can click on any one of these. This shows my speaker off, but I'm using the Yeti stereo microphone as the speaker, so I'm still hearing what I'm saying. It shows the microphone on. The brightness is at full. I have a wired connection. I'm not connected to Wi-Fi. And I've disabled Wi-Fi. But it does work when I'm using it. I don't use it very much. Bluetooth is not in use. The battery is fully charged. This is XRM Tech, my name. I can log out. These are the account settings that I'm not going into here, and this is the shutdown key. Of course, I don't really want to shut down now because I'm still recording, so I'm going to click on cancel. Are you sure that you want to quit? No. I could look at the system resources. With SimpleScreenRecorder running, I'm using about 1.3 gigabytes of my 4 gigabyte random access memory, and I'm not using any swap, which is a plus. Of course, you have a choice of wallpapers. Just right-click on the desktop and click on background. And there's quite a few. This is one I haven't seen before. Select. So that's just a quick look at Fedora 25 workstation with GNOME 3.22. This is XRM Tech. Thanks for watching.